whole story.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Let us continue with our conversation on matters eradicating HIV in the country. Just before the break, we were talking about adolescents, and what we're talking about basically is how do you even start telling your child that is always on their phones? We are going to have that conversation now. The conversation, we're going to have it. Is it easy nowadays as compared to the days that, you know?
I don't think it has become any easier. We may be more informed. We may, I know parents who are trying to have this conversation with regards to the era of gender-based violence or sexual-based violence. And these conversations parents are starting to have even with their 3-year-old kids, right? As young as possible. But it's a difficult conversation. You know, by the time you're meeting an adolescent, they have this information. Maybe they even have experience. While in your mind, you think they might be innocent. So it's still not an easy talk, but it's a talk that we must have. Yes.
All right, perhaps as we almost wind up,
yes,
you can perhaps give us a parting shot in regards to eradicating HIV in the country. What should be done? What should the government focus on? But also matters funding. What should the government do? Should it start? And how will we get this funding, by the way, if I'm to ask? When we're supposed now to start sourcing it by ourselves.
Yes.
Ali had said that the country is not ready. So, and we have not had that. We have not had any that discussion yet.
Yes.
So perhaps you can take us through that.
Very nice. When it comes to, I'll start with funding. When it comes to funding, our budget, our health budget comes as a block. So I think it's just a matter to be tabled within probably our National Assembly and our respective county assemblies, and probably show them the need. And when we give them the data, the timelines, the challenges that we are facing as young people, and even our leaders try to understand and come even to our centers, they will really have the touch and the need to realize as to why we need allocations to eradicate new HIV infections and also sustain those who are already infected on care. Because when you talk about drugs like ARV, they are very expensive. A patient consumes more than 40,000 shillings per year. So it is quite a burden to a country that has about more than 1.3 million people living with HIV and AIDS. What the government should do, most of the time, they think on our behalf. Now it's time for them to call us on board and ask us what exactly do we need to have a focused direction on how to address and combat this particular menace of HIV, teenage pregnancy, and GBV, well combated and led by young population. Because most of these decisions are made in the boardrooms, and in these boardrooms, young people are not in those boardrooms. And that's why every time we'll continue getting the same kind of result. Every day they'll still give us the same data when it comes to new HIV infection. Every time they'll blame us for knowing social media, yet they are the same people who introduced us to social media. Again, as my parting shot, I would like to say National Syndemic Diseases Control Council in partnership with NASCOP have really tried a lot to combat HIV infections, gender-based violence, and what we call teen pregnancy. I think now it's high time they gear up to focusing now on a youth-friendly services that will directly touch that young person in the village who totally doesn't understand anything to do with drugs, anything to do with services, and they are just having sex. Because whether it's in the village, whether it's in towns, our young people, we must agree that they're engaging in sexual activities.
Marilyn, your thoughts on that?
The same. We are asking to partner with National Syndemic Disease Control Council, NASCOP, the Ministry of Health. We have a solution towards this, towards a more targeted HIV response for the young people. We have this HIV chatbot, and we are asking for their audience. We are saying, talk to us. Can we develop this together? You know, we have done this. We have gone to this phase. can we work together, hold our hands so that we have a more localized approach, nationalized tool, developed in a youth-friendly language. We meet each other, you know, that they can speak to it, not in English. You don't need to be educated to speak to it, you know, speak to it in our national languages, Meru, Embu, you know, Luo, you know, we want the bigger picture is a more nationalized tool that can help the young people at their comfort, in their safe spaces where they do not feel judged. So we can work together. We don't need, if you're going towards more self-reliance, we have our own who can support this cause. People are investing in malls. People are investing in apartments. Why not invest in health? Yes, and why not invest in our youth? We need them to run the country in the future. Otherwise, if they all perish, what will happen to our country? Yes, so if we have our own who can support this cause, not necessarily relying on just government funding only, invest. I think we need to call us all on board. Let's invest in the youth.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Quite an interesting conversation here. First of all, thank you so much to my panelists. I had Dr. Marilyn Rono, who is a lecturer and researcher of applied mathematics. And also we have Duke Mwai, who is a youth champion, sharing meaningful involvement of youthful persons in the country. Quite an interesting conversation there. And let us get on to other stories making headlines. And as the dollar continues to trample the Kenyan shillings, tea farmers in Kiambu County have decried getting a raw deal